First things first, guys. How are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm alright, thank you. You just played a show here at the North Sea Jazz. How did it go?
We did. It was amazing. It was our first show, not only at North Sea Jazz Festival, but also in Rotterdam. Period.
Okay.
So it was beautiful. We'd spent a couple days here. You know, we just played Amsterdam, and so we kind of got a good feel for what the people around this area are like. And some of our friends had just played a show in Rotterdam recently, and they were like, wait till you get there and wait to see how beautiful the people are and how great the response is from the audience. And, you know, it was really nice. Since we haven't played here before, it took, you know, the first couple songs to get the audience into it. But I like that. I don't think that anyone should just give in for no reason. I think that people, you should have to deserve to have an audience give in to you. So after the first couple of songs, it was amazing because everyone started dancing, and even to the point where they weren't looking at the stage as much, but just dancing and having a good time like they were at a dance party. And people know how to dance in the Netherlands a lot. Like it's really it's a cool thing. I don't know whether it's because of the freedom of the culture, or what it happens to be. Maybe from the time people are young, they're taught to dance and have a good time and live life to a different level. But it's been really nice, and it was really nice to see people moving as fiercely as they were to music.
Well, one thing which kind of ties in with this is what I found interesting about the kind of the path you as a band took is that you first started focusing on Europe. Am I right in saying that?
Well, not first.
Yeah.
For the first year, we spent our first year basically touring around Los Angeles.
Okay.
And then, you know, in LA, because it's one of these big cities and a lot of big music cities, you start out having to play places where you're basically paying to play. But we decided that we wanted to only play places that that maybe already had an audience established, and we were gonna play there. We were gonna demand a fee, and we were gonna tell the owners that if their bar tab didn't go up enough to equal what they were paying us, then we would not ask for that anymore. So we just basically sat ourselves down. We played 4 nights a week, 4 different parts of LA, had 4 residencies, and that was a year long. Okay. And that's how we hooked up with our manager, Doc McGee, because, you know, I guess he heard that there was a band that was playing original music 4 nights a week all over town, and that just was not heard of. And at that time, we were playing a lot of the songs over and over all night long because we didn't have enough songs. Sure. But then he heard about us. He came to see a show. When we first met with him, we were talking about how when we got together to record our first record, the Bomb Shelter Sessions, we were watching this documentary about the Stax music. And in 1967, the Stax artists took all of their major acts to Europe to kind of expose Europe to Americana soul music. And so we thought we would do the same thing. You know, in LA and all over America, there's a lot of soul singing and blues singing, and we kind of wanted to go somewhere maybe where there wasn't that much of that and kind of, you know, be the sexy new voice in town. And so we tried it out, and we got this show called the Jules Holland Show. Sure. And we played that show, and that was kind of basically, it was the beginning of a snowball, because we played that show. We left the show, and by the time we got into the parking lot to get back into our bus, we were the number 4 tweeted thing in the world, or number 5 or something like that. And it was the beginning of a string of events that make you kind of realize that your dreams are starting to become reality. I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but
well, can you give an example of something like that? Well, when did you notice? When did you notice that things started to come true? So
well, I think we noticed it even before we left the country. I mean, I noticed it when after we'd only been together for 2 or 3 months. And I stopped having to text all my friends every time I was doing a show to ask them to come to the shows.
They just showed up.
You know, like some people talk about the big things. Like, you know, we've had the honor of opening for AC/DC a lot, and The Who and the Rolling Stones and Lenny Kravitz and just so many people. But sometimes you forget to acknowledge the little moments that let you know that the dreams are coming true. And one of them is, like I said, when you stop having to beg your friends to come see your shows. I mean, that's a big deal. I can't tell you, like, 'cause like I remember when I first got my iPhone, and then they had this thing you could only send out 20 messages at a time.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a pain because, you know, like you had to send out like 300 messages to get 20 people at your show.
Yeah.
So like you'd be sending messages for days. So when you stopped having to do that, that was nice. But then after you do Jules Holland, and then everyone starts hearing about you, that's the next time.
It is quite interesting because Well, the music you make, it is soul, it's blues oriented, it's rock guitar, and in the current, where do you think you fit in the current musical climate? Because in America, was there an audience for you?
I would say no.
Yeah.
But I would say prior to very recently, that seemed like a bad thing, but now it makes me feel and us feel more powerful because there shouldn't really have to be labels, just like there shouldn't have to be labels in life. Music should just be able to be music, like people should just be able to be people. And what's really nice about it is it's better to be unidentified. I think for us, as far as music is concerned, we are the future because we're like the mixed race of music.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's white, it's black, it's rock and roll, it's soul, it's party, it's
rhythm and blues,
serious,
yeah.
It's everything. And so I think the less labels we have, not just with music, but with everything, the better off we're going to be. So I don't even really care to label it anymore. I think this is the first interview that I've said that, but from now on, I'm not even going to label anything and just say it's music, because we're at a time in our world where we have to just drop all the labels and just enjoy the things we want to enjoy.
Well, this is interesting, and then now it's a bit more a serious question then, but I saw a bit of your show, and you refer to what's going on in America right now. So how does this become part of the music for you? Is it always kind of what happens around you kind of filters through in your music?
I think it always is, yeah. And you know, Ty is so intuitive. A lot of things that are around as a true artist should be, and I think you know, it feels like things aren't getting better, especially in our country. They're just getting worse. And so sometimes we were sitting there at dinner last night and we're saying, you know, you feel helpless.
Sure.
What can you do? And as musicians, as artists, I think, you know, to coalesce people, to get people to feel, to get people to think, to get people to maybe rally together or anything like that, that's maybe one of the best gifts we could be bestowed with. And so, you know, if things are getting worse, that just means that maybe our job is even more, you know, kind of important, because a lot of times people need a voice. You know, I referenced that NWA movie. I don't know if you got it big over here, but that was so indicative of a shift in the planet, because so many people in poor neighborhoods all over the world didn't have a voice, and that was the first, you know, where street poetry in a way that was, you know, reality rap or whatever they wanted to call it, and it shook the world. It ultimately did shake the world because it coalesced people in all, you know, poor areas all over the globe, you know, from Detroit to Chicago to, it wasn't just Los Angeles, it just needed to get big enough to where the people in Atlanta heard about it, you know, or the people in St. Louis heard about it, and then all of a sudden it was like, it was a rallying cry for everybody to oh, we're not alone. I'm not alone feeling this way.
Sure. So
yeah, I think it's an amazing honor and you know, something to hold very, you know, respected a lot.
Tanya, for you then, because I assume you write most of the lyrics, are you very conscious of this effect that your music can have on the people?
Oh no, completely. You know, you deal with social media and stuff, and you know, we travel a lot, so you know, you kind of have to talk about shows and things. And someone I grew up with, you know, I posted a picture of a show of the previous night, and they called me out. Someone I grew up with and said, it's a different time. You should be talking about social consciousness right now, and you should be talking about the fact that black people are being murdered in the United States, and you should be talking less about your shows. And in my mind, my first thing was to get defensive and come back and say, basically, how dare you? Because, you know, my usual route is to do my part, or to have us do our part by bringing joy to people, and by bringing joy to people, they will leave the show and spill joy out amongst other people, and that is a huge thing you can do. But then at the same time, after I defended myself to him, I had to write another note to him apologizing to him, because sometimes I don't deal with it a lot because I don't really feel vibration about being black. I just feel like I'm a person. But the point is that I am black. Sure. And the point is that there are people that look exactly like me that for no reason are getting killed every day. And as an artist, sometimes, you know, we try and stay neutral in order to not lose fans from one side or the other. But this is one of those times where you just can't be neutral, because it's a human issue, really, more so than a black issue, but we cannot deal with the human issue until we deal with the black issue. And so for me, I think about it all the time in every lyric I write. Sometimes, you know, I'm in the middle of writing a couple songs right now, and I feel like I need to scrap the lyric content and start all over and deal with what's happening right now in the content. But then it's hard because as an artist, you know, people, a lot of times they want to critique you about whatever you do. Sometimes you feel like if you start writing about that, then people are going to critique you for just trying to hop on the horse of what's happening at the time. So you just have to stop thinking about that, really, and just start thinking about yourself as far as what you want to put out there, and hopefully know that if you're a good person, you're putting something out there to affect everyone in a positive way. I mean, sometimes just to get someone to feel strong about themselves is really helping the situation right now. There are a lot of different ways to skin a cat, as the expression goes. And for me, I just think there are people that are more powerful in being militant about things, and they are necessary. That's just not the way I really choose to do it. I choose to nurture hearts and souls. I choose to represent something positive to the youth, because I think it's really going to start with the youth. I mean, we can do it all we want to today, but the idea really is to get the people that are younger than us to be really strong, and that way tomorrow will be better. So I feel like the better representations we are for the people looking up at us for who they want to be in the future, that's what's going to help us in tomorrow.
So then I assume a big part of this is the way you perform live, the energy you have live.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, the energy and the trust. You know, I know a lot of people do stage diving and stuff just as a fun thing. Mm-hmm. I do it as a way to show people that I trust them. And I do it in a way to show people to trust each other. It's like that, you know, you do that falling back exercise, that trust game. It's kind of the same thing. I mean, at any moment I could fall on my face. If the audience is standing in front of us for an hour and 15 minutes and they're trusting us to keep them entertained, and if I can show them that we trust them as well, then it becomes more of a community effort. I mean, we say that the audience is our fifth member all the time. The more times I can go in the audience, the more I can rely on the audience, the more call and response we can get from the audience, the more they actually feel like they're part of the band.
And yeah, what is one of the best things you've heard from an audience member or somebody who listens to your music?
That my crotch felt great when they grabbed it when I walked over the top. I mean, you know, you hear all the same things all the time. When you hear something like that, it makes you feel good.
We had somebody come up. To us in the line the other day and said that they'll go ahead and say this is the greatest concert they've ever seen. They've been going to concerts for 50 years. They've listed off all these greats that he's seen, and he says we're instantly his new favorite band. And in this day and age, with so many options for people and things like that, and it was, you know, you could tell the guy was about in tears. So that's pretty sincere, and it pretty hits you really, really hard. You're sort of like, you know, we're bestowed with this torch to some degree that we feel you know, we feel very responsible for carrying it right.
If you look back then, because well, I wanted to go into the whole album, and but I don't have time. But I wrote down one line from "Run Like the River," and she said, "Tyrone, go be the king you meant to be." So if you look back at that time and having those comments now,
sure.
How does that?
No, it's great for me because I think up until about 10 years ago in my life, I didn't really understand the importance of being an artist that a lot of people pay attention to. And so when my mother said that to me, I understood what she meant. It didn't take me a long time to get it, but it wasn't until recently that I started really taking it on and realizing that I could steer the ear that is listening to me, and that's really important. There's a lot of responsibility behind that, and it takes a lot of power to own that responsibility, and it even takes me growing into enough power to own that responsibility. So I like it. Every day I stand more for the things I say. Meaning, you know, a lot of times you can say things that sound really cool, but do you really mean them, or you're just trying to make cool sound bites? And for me, every day I try and live up to the lyrics I write, because I don't even think I'm as good as the lyrics I write. So sometimes I write the lyrics and then I've got to live up to them.
But very quickly then, because my time is up, but what changed in the last...
in the last 10 years?
Where that
I'm a person that likes to always please people, and sometimes you realize by pleasing too many people you don't please yourself enough, and you can't be the leader you're supposed to be if you're not as strong as you're supposed to be. So I think what happened was I realized that I'm as important as how I feel other people are important.
That's great. That's amazing. I mean, and the power to inspire and for that to rub off is something that I think, you know, that's again getting back to the question earlier, where that's an important gift. If you're given one of the, you know, if you're given that gift, and he definitely has it in spades. It's kind of an amazing thing. So we're lucky. I want to make one comment too, because thank you for being here at the North Sea Jazz Festival. It didn't occur to me. I woke up this morning. My favorite concert of all time that I wore out the tape on was Graham Central Station at the North Sea Jazz Festival. Yeah, I was getting into bass early on, and I used to wear that tape out. And I didn't realize it was here, that stage, I think, you know, until today. I was like, holy shit, where it's here. So thank you for being here and giving us the opportunity.
Talk about music much. One Hole for Road, Bomb Shelter Sessions.
VintageTrouble.com.
All right, thank you so much.